I still remember the exact moment my world shattered into pieces I could never put back together. It was a Tuesday. Ordinary, unremarkable. The kind of day where you don't expect your entire life to collapse. Seojun had just turned 2, and he was in that phase where everything was mine. And bedtime was a negotiation that could last hours. I'd spent the morning designing a community center for a low-income neighborhood, the kind of project that made me feel like my architecture degree actually meant something. Taejin had left early for business meetings. He always had business meetings. My husband was successful, driven, the kind of alpha who commanded respect the moment he walked into a room. 7 years together, and I still felt that flutter in my chest when he smiled at me. Still felt safe in his arms, like nothing in the world could touch us. I was naive. Stupidly, tragically naive. The doorbell rang at 2 p.m. I was expecting a package, but instead, I found my younger brother standing there, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Dae-hoon. I stepped aside to let him in. What's wrong? You look terrible. My brother was 24, a journalist with that annoying idealistic streak that made our parents worry constantly. Always chasing stories about corruption, organized crime, injustice. Always putting himself in danger for the truth. He didn't sit down. Just stood in my living room, hands shaking, looking at me with eyes that held something I'd never seen before. Haneul, I need you to listen to me very carefully. His voice was low, urgent. I've been investigating a crime syndicate. Money laundering, smuggling, extortion. They have connections everywhere. Police, politicians, judges. Okay. I didn't understand why he was telling me this. Dae-hoon was always working on some exposé. I found out who runs it. He pulled out his phone, showing me photos. Documents. Financial records. The kingpin. The one who built the entire network from nothing. I looked at the papers, trying to make sense of the numbers, the transactions, My blood turned to ice. Kang Taejin. My husband's name. Over and over. Connected to shell companies, illegal operations, violent incidents. Photos of him meeting with known criminals. Intercepted communications discussing handling problems and removing obstacles. No. I shook my head. No, this is wrong. This is some kind of mistake. Taejin is a businessman. He imports nothing legal, Haneul. Dae-hoon grabbed my shoulders. Your husband is a crime boss. One of the most powerful in the country. Everything, the penthouse, the cars, the lifestyle, it's all built on blood money. The room spun. I pulled away from him, clutching the back of the couch for support. You're lying. Why would you make this up? I'm not making it up. His voice cracked with desperation. I've been investigating for 8 months. I have sources inside his organization. Haneul, please, you have to believe me. You and Seojun need to leave. Before this goes public and you become targets. I looked at the photos again. That was definitely Taejin. Same sharp jawline, same expensive suits. But the context, it had to be wrong. Manipulated somehow. Dae-hoon, I think you're in over your head this time. These people you're investigating, they could be setting you up, feeding you false information about Taejin too. To what? Discredit a random journalist? He laughed bitterly. Haneul, I know this is hard to accept. But I'm your brother. I would never lie to you about something like this. Taejin is dangerous. The things he's done, the people who've disappeared because of him. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. I don't want to hear this conspiracy theory nonsense. Taejin has been nothing but good to me, to Seojun. He's a devoted father, a loving husband. Who's been lying to you for 7 years? Get out. The words came out cold, final. Dae-hoon's face crumpled. Haneul, please. I said get out. I don't know what you think you found, but you're wrong about Taejin. And I won't let you spread these lies about my family. My brother looked at me for a long moment, tears gathering in his eyes. Then he pulled out a USB drive and set it on the coffee table. Everything's on here. All my evidence. When you're ready to see the truth, it'll be waiting. He moved toward the door, then paused. I love you, Hyung. And I love Seojun. That's why I'm risking everything to warn you. Please, just look at the evidence. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize for the rest of my life. But if I'm right. He didn't finish. Just walked out, leaving me standing in my beautiful living room in my beautiful penthouse, staring at a USB drive like it was a live grenade. I threw it in a drawer. Didn't look at it. Didn't tell Taejin about the visit. My brother was wrong. He had to be wrong. 2 weeks later, I was planning Seojun's birthday party when my mom called. I knew something was wrong from her first sob. Mom? What is it? What happened? It's Daehoon. She could barely speak through the tears. There was an incident. A mugging. They said, he didn't make it, Haneul. Our Daehoon is gone. The phone slipped from my hands. No. This wasn't real. Couldn't be real. I'd just seen him 2 weeks ago. He was fine. Young and healthy and alive, so alive. The funeral was a blur. I moved through it like a ghost, holding Seojun, who didn't understand why everyone was crying, accepting condolences, watching them lower my baby brother into the ground. 24 years old. Dead in an alley, his wallet and phone missing, victim of a random mugging in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time. That's what the police said. Random. Wrong place, wrong time. But I couldn't stop thinking about his last visit. His fear. His warning. I couldn't stop thinking about that USB drive. Taejin was perfect through it all. Held me when I cried, took time off work to help with arrangements, even spoke at the funeral about how Daehoon was a brave young man who fought for justice. I clung to him, desperate for his strength, his certainty that everything would be okay. 3 days after the funeral, I was looking for Seojun's stuffed rabbit in Taejin's car. We'd driven to my parents' house, and I thought maybe it had fallen under the seat. That's when I found the phone. Small, cheap, the kind you buy with cash and throw away. A burner phone hidden in the compartment under the passenger seat. My hands shook as I turned it on. One message. Sent 3 days before Daehoon died. The journalist problem is handled. No traces. Payment transferred. The reply from Taejin's number. Confirmed. Ensure it looks random. I read it again. And again. And again. The journalist problem. Daehoon was a journalist. Daehoon, who'd been investigating Taejin. Daehoon, who died 3 days after this message. The phone fell from my numb fingers. Please, God, no. I was sitting in the living room when Taejin came home that evening. Seojun was at my parents' house. I'd asked them to keep him overnight. The burner phone was on the coffee table between us. Taejin froze when he saw it. His face went carefully blank, that expression he used during difficult business negotiations. Haneul, did you kill my brother? My voice sounded strange. Detached. Like it belonged to someone else. It's not what you think. Did you kill my brother? I was on my feet, screaming, and suddenly all the careful control shattered. Taejin's face twisted with something that looked like anguish. I didn't pull the trigger. Answer the question. No, I didn't kill him. But, he stopped, running his hands through his hair. But I knew. I knew what was going to happen and I didn't stop it. The room tilted. I grabbed the back of the couch to keep from falling. What are you saying? Taejin's eyes were tortured, but I didn't care. Didn't care about his pain when my brother was dead in the ground. Daehoon was investigating my organization. I found out about it 3 weeks ago. My security team intercepted some of his communications. They told me he was getting close, that he'd found evidence that could bring everything down. So you had him murdered? My voice was hollow. No. I said no. I told them to scare him off, to warn him, to offer him money to drop the story, anything but that. Taejin stepped toward me and I backed away. He stopped, pain flashing across his face. But my second-in-command, Sengwoo, he said Daehoon had found our home address. That he was going to publish it along with photos of you and Seojun. That we'd all be targets for my enemies, for law enforcement, for everyone. You're lying. I'm not. Haneul, please, you have to understand, I was terrified. Seojun was so small, you were so vulnerable, and the thought of anyone coming after you. So you let them kill him. I was crying now, ugly sobs that tore from my chest. My brother came to me. He warned me. He tried to save us and I didn't believe him, and you? I didn't order it, Taejin said desperately. I swear I didn't order it. Sangwoo told me after it was done. Said it was the only way to protect the family, that Daehoon wouldn't be bought off or scared off. By the time I knew, it was too late to stop it. But you could have stopped it before. You could have called it off. You had the power, and you chose to let him die. I was told it was him or you and Seojun. Taejin's voice broke. I was told if I didn't authorize the removal of the threat, my enemies would use his information to come after my family. I thought I was protecting you. By murdering my brother? I didn't think I thought they'd just scare him somehow, make the evidence disappear, I don't know. He was crying too now, and I'd never seen him cry before. I didn't know they'd kill him until it was done. And then it was too late. I couldn't bring him back. I couldn't. You let them make it look like a mugging. My voice was dead. You let my parents think their son died because of random violence. You stood at his funeral and lied to everyone. What was I supposed to do? Confess and go to prison? Leave you and Seojun alone and unprotected? You were supposed to save him. I screamed. You were supposed to tell me the truth. You were supposed to not be a monster. The word hung in the air between us. Taejin's face crumbled. Haneul. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't say my name. Don't touch me. Don't come near me ever again. Please, let me explain. Explain what? That everything Daehoon said was true? That you're a criminal? That my entire marriage has been a lie? I laughed, and it sounded hysterical even to my own ears. He tried to save me. My little brother tried to save me and Seojun, and I threw him out. I told him he was wrong. And 2 weeks later he was dead because of you. I never wanted this. But you let it happen. You had the power to stop it and you didn't. You chose your empire over my brother's life. You chose protecting yourself over protecting him. I chose protecting you. Don't you dare use us as justification. I was shaking so hard I could barely stand. Don't you dare hide behind me and Seojun. You made your choice, Taejin. And it wasn't us. It was never us. It was your power, your control, your precious organization. That's not fair. Fair. I grabbed the nearest object, a vase, one of our wedding gifts, and hurled it at the wall. It shattered, pieces scattering everywhere. My brother is dead. Fair doesn't exist anymore. Taejin just stood there, tears streaming down his face, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked small. Broken. But I wanted him to hurt. Wanted him to feel a fraction of what I was feeling. I want a divorce. His head snapped up. No. Haneul, please. I want you out of this house tonight. I want you away from me. Away from Seojun. You can't keep me from my son. Watch me. My voice was ice. You're a criminal. A murderer. I'll tell the courts everything. They'll never let you near him. If you expose me, you'll put yourself and Seojun in danger, Taejin said desperately. My enemies, the people I've wronged, they'll all come after you. You need my protection. I need to never see your face again. I walked to the bedroom and started throwing clothes into a suitcase. Taejin followed, still pleading, still trying to explain, still insisting he'd done it all to protect us. I didn't listen. I couldn't listen. Every word out of his mouth was another knife in my chest. When I had enough packed, I called a taxi. Taejin didn't try to physically stop me. He knew better. But he stood at the door as I left, looking like I'd killed him. I love you, he said hoarsely. I love you and Seojun more than anything in this world. That will never change. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. My brother loved me too. And you let him die. I walked out. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Taejin didn't fight for custody. Didn't contest anything. Just signed whatever papers his lawyers put in front of him, agreed to whatever terms I demanded. The only thing he asked for was visitation rights. I wanted to say no. Wanted to cut him out completely. But I looked at 2-year-old Seojun, who kept asking for Appa, And I couldn't do it. So I agreed. Supervised visitation. 2 hours every Sunday. That was it. The divorce was finalized 6 months after Daehoon's funeral. I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across the city. Started working at a small architecture firm. Tried to build a life from the ashes of everything I'd lost. But every night, when I looked at Seojun sleeping peacefully in his bed, I saw Daehoon. Saw his face the last time he'd visited. Saw the fear in his eyes. Heard him begging me to believe him. And I hated myself almost as much as I hated Taejin. Because my brother had died trying to save me. And I hadn't believed him until it was too late. 3 years later. I thought time would make it easier. It didn't. Every day was a fight. Fight to get out of bed. Fight to smile for Seojun. Fight to not drown in the guilt and grief that followed me like a shadow. I avoided anything that reminded me of Daehoon. Packed away his photos. Couldn't visit his grave. Couldn't face my parents' questions about why Taejin and I really divorced. I told everyone it was irreconcilable differences. Only I knew the truth. The full, horrible truth. Seojun asked about his father constantly at first. I kept answers vague. Appa loves you. Appa is busy with work. We'll see Appa on Sunday. The Sunday visits were torture. Dropping Seojun off at a neutral location, watching a social worker supervise while Taejin played with our son, seeing the longing in both their faces when the 2 hours ended. Taejin never tried to talk to me beyond necessary logistics. Never tried to explain again. Just looked at me with those haunted eyes and took whatever scraps of fatherhood I allowed him. I thought we'd found our balance. I thought this was how things would be forever. Then Seojun turned 5. And everything changed again. The first time Seojun ran away, I thought I was going to die from the panic. It was a Thursday afternoon. I'd picked him up from kindergarten like always, stopped at the convenience store for his favorite strawberry milk, came home to our small apartment. Everything normal. Everything safe. I was making dinner. Nothing fancy, just kimchi fried rice, when I realized the apartment was too quiet. Seojun, I called out, turning down the heat on the stove. Baby, are you okay? No answer. Seojun. Louder this time, my heart starting to beat faster. I checked his room. Empty. The bathroom. Empty. The closet where he sometimes hid during hide and seek. Empty. The front door was unlocked. My blood turned to ice. Seojun. I ran into the hallway, checking every floor, pounding on neighbors' doors. No one had seen him. I called the building security, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Please, my son, he's 5 years old, he's missing. They found him 20 minutes later at the bus stop 3 blocks away, trying to convince the bus driver to take him to the tall building where Appa lives. When security brought him back, I grabbed him so hard he squeaked. Never do that again. I was crying, couldn't stop crying. You can't just leave like that. Something could have happened to you. I wanted to see Appa, Seojun said, his little face confused by my tears. I miss him, Papa. Why can't I see him more? You see him every Sunday. That's not enough. His eyes filled with tears too. I want Appa to tuck me in. I want him to read me stories. I want us to be a family again. And what could I say to that? How could I explain to a 5-year-old that his father had let his uncle die? That the man he loved was responsible for shattering our family? It's complicated, baby. You always say that. Seojun pulled away from me, angry in that passionate way children get. You say it's complicated, but you never explain. I just want my Appa. He ran to his room and slammed the door. I sat in the hallway and cried until I had nothing left. The second time happened 2 weeks later. I'd taken extra precautions, child-proof locks on all the doors, told him firmly about the dangers of leaving alone. But Seojun was smart. Too smart. He waited until I was in the shower. Somehow managed to unlock the front door using a chair to reach the top lock. Made it 4 blocks this time before a shopkeeper recognized him and called me. Seojun, you promised. I was torn between relief and frustration. You promised you wouldn't run away again. I didn't run away, he said stubbornly. I was going to Appa's. That's not running away, that's going home. This is home. Our apartment is home. No, it's not. Seojun's face crumpled. Home is where we were all together. Home is where Appa made breakfast and you sang in the kitchen and we watched movies on the big couch. This place isn't home, Papa. It's just sad. Out of the mouths of children. Our apartment was sad. Small and dark and filled with everything we'd lost. I tried to make it cheerful, colorful posters on Seojun's walls, toys organized in bright bins, but he was right. It felt like a place we were surviving, not living. I know you miss him, I said softly. But Appa and I, we can't be together anymore. Why not? Because sometimes grown-ups make mistakes that can't be fixed. Did you make a mistake or did Appa? The question was so direct, so innocent, and I didn't know how to answer it. Both of us, I finally said. We both made mistakes. But that was a lie. Taejin had made the mistake. Taejin had destroyed everything. I was just the one living with the consequences. The third time, Seojun actually made it to Taejin's building. My phone rang at 11:47 p.m. I'd been asleep for maybe an hour after a long shift at the firm, and my heart nearly stopped when I saw the name on the screen. What? Why are you calling me? Taejin's voice was careful, controlled. Just here. He's safe. He took a taxi to my building. The doorman recognized him and called up before letting him in the elevator. He what? I was already out of bed, pulling on clothes with one hand. How did he even? He apparently saved his allowance for weeks. Memorized my address from the Sunday drop-offs. There was something in Taejin's voice. Pride, maybe, mixed with concern. Haneul, he's fine. He's eating jjajangmyeon in my kitchen right now. But you should come get him. 20 minutes later, I was riding the elevator up to the penthouse I'd sworn I'd never enter again. The doors opened directly into the apartment. That ostentatious display of wealth that had once impressed me and now just made me feel sick. Everything was exactly as I remembered. The same modern furniture. The same floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The same oppressive sense of luxury built on blood money. Seojun was at the kitchen counter, swinging his legs and slurping noodles. His face lit up when he saw me. Papa! I made it! I found Appa all by myself. I didn't know whether to hug him or scream. Taejin was standing nearby, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, so different from the suits I'd been used to. He looked tired. Older than he should. There were shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there 3 years ago. Seojun, I said, keeping my voice level through sheer force of will. Do you have any idea how dangerous what you did was? Taking a taxi alone? At night? You're 5 years old. But I got here safe, Seojun said, genuinely confused by my anger. The taxi driver was nice. He asked if I was lost and I said no, I was going to my Appa's house. What if he hadn't been nice? What if something had happened to you? My voice cracked. Seojun, you could have been hurt, or taken, or... I wanted to see Appa. Seojun's eyes filled with tears. I wanted to see him and you never let me. Only stupid Sundays for 2 stupid hours and there's always a stranger watching us and I just wanted to be with my Appa. He started crying in earnest, and Taejin moved without thinking, scooping him up, holding him close, murmuring soft words in his ear. The sight of them together, Seojun's small arms wrapped around Taejin's neck, made my chest ache with a complicated mix of emotions I didn't want to examine. It's okay, Taejin said gently. Your papa isn't angry because he doesn't want you to see me. He's angry because he loves you and was scared something bad might happen. Really? Seojun pulled back to look at me with hopeful, teary eyes. Really? I confirmed, even though I wanted to scream. But Seojun, you cannot do this again. Do you understand? No more running away. No more sneaking out. It's dangerous. But I miss Appa so much, Seojun whispered. Every day I miss him. Don't you miss him too, Papa? The question hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. I looked at Taejin. He was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Hoping I'd say yes? Hoping I'd say no? It's complicated, I said again, that useless phrase that explained nothing. You always say that. Seojun pushed away from Taejin, suddenly angry again. Grown-ups always say things are complicated but they never explain. I'm not a baby. Why can't we be a family again? Why can't we all live together like before? Because I started, then stopped. How could I explain? How could I tell a 5-year-old about murder and betrayal and unforgivable sins? Because your papa and I had some very serious problems, Taejin said quietly. Problems that couldn't be fixed. And sometimes, when people can't fix their problems, they have to live apart. But you could try. Seojun looked between us desperately. You could try to fix them. People try to fix things. That's what you always tell me, Papa. When something breaks, we try to fix it. Some things can't be fixed, baby, I said softly. Why not? Seojun's voice rose to a wail. Why can't you just try? Why don't you want to fix it? It's not about wanting. Then what is it about? He was crying again, and it was breaking my heart. I just want my family back. I just want Appa to come home. Why is that so bad? Why won't you let him come home? I opened my mouth, closed it, had no idea what to say. Taejin knelt down so he was eye level with Seojun. Your papa is the bravest, strongest person I know, he said, his voice rough with emotion. And he's doing what he thinks is best for you. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. That's what parents do. We make hard choices to keep our children safe. But I'm not safe without you. Seojun threw his arms around Taejin's neck again. I don't feel safe, Appa. I'm scared all the time. I have bad dreams and Papa has bad dreams too. I hear him crying at night, and everything is wrong without you. I felt like I'd been slapped. Taejin's eyes met mine over Seojun's shoulder. The pain in them was so raw it hurt to look at. I'm sorry, he mouthed silently. Sorry for what? For Seojun hurting? For me hurting? For everything he'd done that led us here? Sorry didn't fix anything. Sorry didn't bring Daehoon back. I managed to get Seojun home and into bed by 2 a.m. He cried himself to sleep asking why we couldn't be a family again. I sat in the kitchen, drinking cold tea, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. A text from Taejin. I'm sorry. I never wanted this for him. For any of us. I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. He needs stability. These visits aren't working. Maybe we should reduce them. The response came immediately. Please don't. Seeing him is the only thing keeping me alive. I almost threw the phone across the room. Don't put that on me. Don't you dare put that on me. I'm not. I'm just being honest. But I understand if you need to protect him from me. I understand that I don't deserve either of you. I turned off my phone and went to bed. But I couldn't sleep. Because Seojun was right. Everything was wrong. Our life was a pale shadow of what it had been, and my son was miserable, and I didn't know how to fix it without compromising everything I believed in. 3 days later, I noticed the car. Black sedan. Tinted windows. Parked across the street from Seojun's kindergarten. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. Trauma did that, made you see threats everywhere. But then I saw it again the next day. And the day after that. Different parking spots, but the same car. Someone was watching us. I started paying closer attention. There were others too. A man in a gray suit who seemed to be at the coffee shop every morning when I stopped for my Americano. A woman who was always getting on the elevator in my building when I came home from work. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe grief and stress were making me see patterns that didn't exist. Then I came home one evening to find my apartment door slightly ajar. Terror flooded through me. Seojun was at a playdate with his friend Miho. I dropped him off an hour ago, still had 3 hours before pickup. I pulled out my phone, ready to call the police, when I heard movement inside. Someone was still in my apartment. I should have run. Should have called for help. But rage overwhelmed fear. How dare someone break into my home? Into the space I'd built for my son? I pushed the door open. The apartment had been ransacked. Drawers pulled out, cushions thrown off the couch, books swept off shelves. But nothing seemed to be missing. The TV was still there. My laptop. The emergency cash I kept in the kitchen. This wasn't a robbery. This was a message. I called the police. They came, took a report, dusted for fingerprints. Found nothing useful. Told me it was probably teenagers looking for easy cash, scared off before they could take anything. But I knew better. I'd lived with Taejin long enough to recognize a warning when I saw one. The incidents escalated. A man followed me home from work, staying just close enough that I knew it was deliberate. When I turned to confront him, he smiled, cold and knowing, then walked away. Someone slashed my tires while I was inside the grocery store. A brick came through my window at 3 a.m. with a note attached, "We know where you live." I was terrified. For myself, yes, but mostly for Seojun. If someone was targeting me, they could target him too. I hired a babysitter to pick him up from school. Installed a security camera outside my door. Started varying my route to work. But I felt hunted. Like there were eyes on me every moment. I lasted 2 weeks before I broke. The call was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Harder than leaving. Harder than the divorce. Because asking Taejin for help meant admitting I needed him. Meant stepping back into his world after I'd fought so hard to escape it. But I'd do anything to keep Seojun safe. He answered on the first ring. "Haneul." His voice was surprised, cautious. "Is everything okay?" "No." My voice shook. "Someone's been following me. Watching Seojun. They broke into my apartment. I don't know who or why, but I think it's connected to you." Silence. Then, low and dangerous. "Where are you right now?" "Home." "Seojun's at school. I have security picking him up." "Stay there. Don't open the door for anyone. I'm sending a car. You're both coming here." "Ting, I can't?" "Yes, you can. Because whoever is targeting you knows about our history. They know you're vulnerable. And I will not." His voice cracked. "I will not lose you. Either of you. Please. Let me protect you." I closed my eyes. 3 years of careful distance, destroyed in one phone call. "Just until you figure out who's doing this." "Just until then," he agreed. "I promise." 30 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up. 2 men in suits, clearly security, escorted me to the car. We picked up Seojun from school, my son's face lighting up with confusion and joy when he saw where we were going. "Are we visiting Appa?" "We're staying with him for a little while," I said, my throat tight. "Really? How long?" "I don't know, baby." "Is it because of the bad people who broke our window?" I tried to hide it from him, but of course he'd noticed. Children always noticed. "Yes. Appa's going to help keep us safe." Seojun nodded seriously. Then, in a small voice, "I'm glad. I don't like being scared." "Me neither, baby." The penthouse looked exactly the same. Taejin was waiting when the elevator opened, and the look on his face when he saw us, relief, fear, longing, guilt, was so complex I had to look away. "Thank you for coming," he said. "You'll have the guest suite. I've already had clothes and supplies brought in for Seojun. If you need anything, we'll be fine." Seojun, however, had no such reservations. He ran straight to Taejin, who caught him and lifted him up. "Appa, we get to stay with you. Papa said we're staying for a while." "That's right." Taejin pressed his face into Seojun's hair. "I'm going to keep you both safe. I promise." The emphasis on both wasn't lost on me. I looked around the penthouse, at the life I'd left behind, and felt like I was stepping into a trap I'd never escape. But for Seojun's safety, I'd do it anyway. The first night was awkward beyond words. Taejin had clearly prepared the guest suite carefully. Everything we might need was there: toiletries, clothes in our sizes, Seojun's favorite snacks. The level of detail was unsettling. Like he'd been hoping for this. Planning for it. Or maybe he just never stopped knowing everything about us. Seojun was thrilled. He ran through the penthouse like he'd never left, showing me his old room, completely unchanged, still full of toys and books, pointing out his favorite spots, chattering excitedly about staying with Appa. "Can we watch a movie together?" he begged. "All 3 of us? Like we used to?" I wanted to say no. Wanted to maintain boundaries. But Seojun's hopeful face broke me. "One movie," I agreed. We ended up on the huge sectional couch, Seojun between us, exactly like old times, watching some animated film about talking animals. Seojun fell asleep halfway through, his head on Taejin's lap, his feet in mine. The movie ended. Neither of us moved to turn it off. I've been investigating, Taejin said quietly, so as not to wake Seojun. The people following you. I have some leads. Who are they? I don't know yet, but I will find out. His hand rested on Seojun's head, gentle and protective. And I will make sure they never threaten you again. Don't kill anyone for me, I said flatly. He flinched. I was just going to have them strongly encouraged to leave the country. Permanently. That's still. I know what it is. His voice was hard. And I know you hate what I am. But I will use every resource at my disposal to protect you and our son. Even if you despise me for it. I already despise you. The words came out harsher than I'd intended. Seojun stirred slightly, and we both froze until he settled again. I know, Taejin said softly. I deserve that. I deserve much worse. We sat in silence for a long moment. Why did you keep his room the same? I finally asked, looking at Seojun's peaceful face. You knew we weren't coming back. Hope, Taejin said simply. Foolish, desperate hope that maybe someday, but I knew better. I've always known better. Then why keep everything? Why not move on? He looked at me then, and the devastation in his eyes made my breath catch. Because moving on would mean accepting that I'd lost everything that mattered. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't let go, even though I had no right to hold on. I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to feel about the fact that part of me, a small, traitorous part, was relieved to be back. To feel safe for the first time in weeks. To see Seojun so genuinely happy. I should put him to bed, I said, standing carefully. Taejin helped me lift our son without waking him. We walked together to the guest suite, a strange parody of the parenting partnership we used to have. Tucked him in together. Both kissed his forehead. At the door, Taejin paused. I know this is difficult for you. Being here. But I'm grateful you trusted me enough to come. That you let me protect you, even after everything. I didn't do it for you, I said coldly. I did it for Seojun. I know that too. He smiled sadly. Good night, Haneul. He left, and I stood in the doorway of the guest room, watching my son sleep peacefully for the first time in weeks. Outside the windows, the city glittered with lights. Inside, I felt like I was drowning. The days that followed fell into an uncomfortable routine. Seojun was ecstatic. He got to see Taejin every morning at breakfast, every evening at dinner. Got to play in his old room, have story time with his appa, feel like we were a family again. I tried to maintain distance. Stayed in my room working remotely when possible. Kept interactions with Taejin brief and professional. But the penthouse was only so big. And I kept noticing things. Like how Taejin had stopped wearing expensive suits. Dressed casually now, like he didn't care about appearances anymore. Like how there were photos everywhere that hadn't been there before. Printed pictures of Seojun at every age, covering the refrigerator, lining the hallway. A shrine to the son he barely got to see. Like how exhausted he looked. How he took phone calls in the middle of the night, his voice hard and commanding, then came out looking more tired than before. One evening, I couldn't sleep and went to get water from the kitchen. Found Taejin sitting in the dark, staring at a photo album. He startled when he saw me, quickly closing it. But not before I caught a glimpse. Pictures of Daehoon. Holding baby Seojun. Smiling at the camera. Young and alive and gone. What are you doing? My voice came out sharp. Taejin looked guilty. I look at it sometimes. To remember. Remember what? How you let him die. Yes. The answer was simple, devastating. I look at it so I never forget what I am. What I'm capable of. What I took from you. I should have walked away. Should have left him to his guilt. But something in his voice stopped me. How often do you look at it? Every night. He opened the album again, and I saw page after page of Daehoon. I've been doing it for 3 years. I tracked down every photo I can find. Build this memorial to him. Because he should be remembered. Because he was right and I was wrong and he paid the price for my paranoia and my fear. There were hundreds of photos. Daehoon as a baby, a child, a teenager. Graduation photos. Candid shots. Newspaper clippings of his journalism work. Where did you get all these? Your parents' social media. Old school websites. His former colleagues. Taejin's voice was flat. I've probably seen every photo of him that exists online. I know his favorite color was blue. His favorite food was tteokbokki. He wanted to be a journalist since he was 12 because he read an expose about corporate corruption and decided he wanted to make the world better. Stop. My hands were shaking. Why are you telling me this? Because you think I don't care. You think I killed him without a second thought and moved on. He looked up at me and his eyes were red. But I think about him every single day. I know everything about the life he should have had. The career he was building. The friends who miss him. The family he left behind. I destroyed all of that because I was scared and stupid and too arrogant to verify the information I was given. Being sorry doesn't bring him back. I know. Taejin's voice broke. I know it doesn't. I know nothing I do will ever make this right. But I can't stop anyway because if I stop, if I let myself forget even for a moment, then he really is gone. Then I really did just erase him like he never mattered. I stood there, frozen, as this man I'd once loved fell apart in front of me. He mattered, Dean whispered. And I took him from the world. From you. From Seojun. And I'll carry that until the day I die. Part of me wanted to scream at him. To tear the album to pieces. To hurt him the way he'd hurt me. But another part, a part one didn't want to acknowledge, saw the genuine torment in his face and recognized it. Because I looked like that too, late at night, when I couldn't sleep. We were both haunted by the same ghost. I need to go back to bed, I said, my voice wooden. I left him there in the dark, surrounded by pictures of the brother I'd lost. And I went to my room and cried into my pillow so Seojun wouldn't hear. A week into our stay, Taejin came home with news. I found out who's been targeting you. I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been reviewing building designs. Seojun was playing in his room. Who? His name is Park Sang-woo. He used to be my second in command. I fired him 2 years ago for excessive violence and unauthorized operations. The one who... I couldn't finish the sentence. Yes. The one who told me about Daehoon. The one who ordered the hit. The room spun. Why is he coming after me now? Revenge. After I fired him, he tried to start his own operation. Failed spectacularly. Lost money, men, territory. Blamed me for his fall. Apparently he's been planning payback ever since. Taejin's face was grim. He's been watching you for months, waiting for the right moment. The break-in, the following, it was all designed to scare you back to me. To make me vulnerable. But what does he want? He wants to destroy me. And he knows the best way to do that is through you and Seojun. Taejin's jaw clenched. But now that you're here, under my protection, he can't touch you. So he's getting desperate. How desperate? Taejin hesitated. Desperate enough that I'm increasing security. No one goes in or out without my clearance. I'm having the building swept for surveillance devices. And I'm actively hunting him down. What happens when you find him? I remove the threat. His eyes were cold. Permanently. Don't. Haneul. He cut me off, his voice hard. This man orchestrated your brother's death. He's now targeting you and our son. I will not show mercy. I will not hesitate. And I will not apologize for protecting my family. The way he said, my family, possessive and final, sent a shiver down my spine. I'm not your family anymore. Legally, but Seojun is my son. And you. He stopped, seeming to struggle with the words. You're his parent. Which means keeping you safe is keeping him safe. That's all this is. It should have been reassuring. It wasn't. Because the look in his eyes said something different. Said that he'd burn the world down before he let anyone hurt us again. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Park Sang-woo, the man who'd manipulated Taejin into allowing Daehoon's death. The man who was now targeting us. I crept out of the guest room, intending to get water. But I heard voices coming from Taejin's office. I shouldn't have eavesdropped. I did it anyway. Found his location. Apartment in Gangnam. We can move tonight. How many men does he have with him? 3, maybe 4. Nothing we can't handle. I want him alive. Taejin's voice was cold steel. I have questions before he disappears. Boss, with all due respect, keeping him alive is risky. I don't care. I need to know exactly what he told me 3 years ago. What was truth and what was lies. I need to know if Yoon Dae-hoon really found our home address, really planned to publish it, or if that was another manipulation. My heart stopped. Does it matter now? Yes. Taejin's voice was rough. It matters. Because if I let an innocent man die based on fabricated evidence, I need to know. I need to face the full weight of what I did. Silence. Then, and if he confirms it was all lies, then I'll have my answer. And he'll pay for every life he destroyed. The conversation continued, but I'd heard enough. I went back to the guest room on shaking legs. Taejin was investigating Dae-hoon's death, trying to find out the truth of what really happened. Part of me wanted to know. Part of me was terrified of what the truth might be. Because if Sang-woo had lied, if Dae-hoon had never been a real threat, then Taejin had killed him for nothing. The next morning, Taejin was gone when I woke up. One of his security team, a stern woman named Agent Kim, informed me he'd had urgent business but would be back by evening. I knew what that meant. He'd gone after Sang-woo. The day crawled by. I tried to work, to play with Seojun, to act normal. But my mind kept drifting to what might be happening. If Taejin was safe. If this would finally end. If I'd finally get answers about what really happened to my brother. Seojun noticed my distraction at lunch. Papa, are you okay? You seem sad. I'm fine, baby. Just thinking about work. You think about work a lot. He poked at his sandwich. Do you ever think about happy things? Of course I do. I think about you all the time. But that's not happy thinking. That's worry thinking. I can tell the difference. He looked at me with those 2 wise 5-year-old eyes. You worry think about me. And you sad think about Uncle Dae-hoon. My breath caught. You remember Uncle Dae-hoon? A little bit. He had a nice smile. And he gave me a stuffed bunny. Seojun's face brightened. Do you still have it? The bunny. I'd packed it away 3 years ago, unable to look at it. It's in storage. Can we get it? I want to have something from Uncle Dae-hoon. Maybe someday. You always say someday. Seojun sounded frustrated. Grown-ups say someday when they mean never. That's not true. It is. You said someday we'd talk about Uncle Dae-hoon. Someday we'd visit where he's buried. Someday you tell me why you and Appa don't live together anymore. But someday never comes. He wasn't wrong. I'd been putting off everything difficult, every painful conversation, because I didn't know how to explain the inexplicable to a child. You're right, I said quietly. I have been saying someday a lot. I'm sorry. Then can we talk about Uncle Dae-hoon today? Not someday but today. I looked at my son's earnest face and made a decision. What do you want to know? Why did he die? Straight for the heart of it. Children didn't dance around things like adults did. He was investigating some bad people. And they hurt him to stop him from telling the truth about them. Like a superhero? The comparison was so innocent, so hopeful, that I had to swallow hard. Like a superhero. He was very brave. Did the bad people get punished? How did I answer that? That the man most responsible was his own father? That justice had never been served? It's complicated, I said, then caught myself. No. Actually, it's not complicated. The answer is no. They didn't get punished. Not yet. That's not fair. You're right. It's not fair. Seojun was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, is that why you're sad all the time? Because Uncle Dae-hoon died and the bad people didn't get punished. That's part of it, yes. What's the other part? I couldn't tell him. Couldn't burden him with the truth about his father. The other part is just grown-up stuff. Things that are hard to explain. He accepted this, thankfully. Then, Papa? When I grow up, can I be like Uncle Dae-hoon? Can I help catch bad people? The thought terrified me. But I looked at his hopeful face and couldn't crush that dream. If that's what you want, yes. But you have to promise me you'll be careful. And safe. I promise. He hugged me tight. Don't be sad, Papa. I'll catch all the bad people when I'm big. And then Uncle Dae-hoon will be proud. I held my son and tried not to cry. Taejin returned at 9 p.m. I'd put Seojun to bed an hour earlier, sitting in the living room, pretending to read but really just staring at the same page over and over. The elevator dinged. Taejin walked in, and I knew immediately something had changed. He looked devastated. Pale, shaking slightly, his eyes red-rimmed. There was no blood on him, thank God, but he looked like someone had reached into his chest and torn something vital out. What happened? I asked, standing. He walked past me to the bar, poured himself a drink with trembling hands, and downed it in one gulp. Then he poured another. Taejin, what happened? I found Sang-woo. His voice was hollow. Brought him in. Made him tell me everything. My heart was pounding. And? He turned to face me, and the anguish in his eyes made me take a step back. It was all lies. Every single thing he told me about Dae-hoon was a lie. The world tilted. What? Your brother never planned to publish anything about you or Seojun. Never intended to expose our family. Taejin's voice cracked. Sang-woo fabricated all of it. Manipulated communications, created fake evidence, fed me false intelligence designed to make me paranoid. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Why? Because he was planning to overthrow me. Wanted to take control of the organization. But first he needed to destabilize me emotionally, make me vulnerable. So he manufactured a crisis. Taejin laughed bitterly. And I fell for it. I was so terrified of losing you and Seojun that I didn't question the evidence. Didn't verify. Didn't even talk to Dae-hoon myself to see if there was another way. Oh my God. I sat down heavily. Oh my God. Dae-hoon was only investigating the organization. Not our family. He had no idea where we lived. Was actually being careful to keep his investigation separate from his personal life to protect you. Taejin's hands were shaking so badly he put down his glass. He was trying to protect you. And I killed him for it. You didn't kill him. I might as well have. The anguish in his voice was raw. I gave the approval. I said yes to eliminating the threat. The fact that the threat was manufactured doesn't change that I made the decision based on fear instead of facts. He was spiraling, and part of me wanted to let him. Wanted him to suffer. But I needed to know. What else did Sang-woo say? Taejin took a shuddering breath. Dae-hoon tried to reach out to me. 3 days before he died. Sent a message through an intermediary asking to meet, saying he wanted to discuss his investigation, that he had concerns but wanted to handle it carefully because of his relationship to you. My stomach dropped. What? Sang-woo intercepted it. Told me it was a threat, that Dae-hoon was demanding I shut down operations or he'd go public. Another lie. Dae-hoon was trying to give me a chance to, I don't know, minimize harm. Find a peaceful resolution. He was being the good man everyone said he was. Taejin's voice broke completely. And I had him murdered for trying to do the right thing. I stood there, processed. Dae-hoon had tried. Had reached out. Had been willing to meet, to talk, to find a solution that wouldn't destroy his sister's family. And Taejin had killed him anyway. Sang-woo had killed him. Had manipulated everything to make it happen. But Taejin had made the final call. What did you do to Sang-woo? I asked quietly. Handed him over to the prosecutors with a full confession. Taejin's laugh was broken. Turns out he's wanted for 17 murders, including Dae-hoon's. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. You didn't kill him. I wanted to. Taejin looked at me with hollow eyes. I wanted to tear him apart with my bare hands. But I thought maybe this was what justice looked like. What your brother deserved. Not revenge, but actual accountability. He walked to the window, staring out at the city. It doesn't change anything though. Sang-woo pulled the trigger, but I loaded the gun. I created the environment where he could manipulate me. I chose to believe the worst instead of investigating. I chose fear over trust. His breath fogged the glass. I killed an innocent man, Haneul. Not just any innocent man, your brother. Someone you loved. Someone who was trying to protect you. I didn't know what to say. Didn't know what to feel. Part of me had known, deep down, that Taejin had been manipulated. That there had to be more to the story. But it didn't make Daehoon any less dead. Why are you telling me this? My voice sounded strange. Because you deserve the truth. All of it. Even the parts that make me look worse. He turned to face me. Daehoon died because I was a coward who didn't do my due diligence. Because I let fear rule me instead of reason. Because I was so obsessed with protecting what I had that I destroyed it with my own hands. Tears were streaming down his face now. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that your brother was everything you thought he was. Brave. Trying to do the right thing. And I took him from the world because I was too broken to see what was really happening. I felt like I was underwater. Everything muffled and distant. I started, then stopped. I need to not be in this room right now. I walked away. Heard Taejin call my name, but I didn't stop. Went to the guest room. Closed the door. Locked it. And then I fell apart. Cried for my brother. For the truth I'd finally gotten. For the senselessness of it all. Daehoon had been trying to help. Had been trying to find a solution. And he'd been murdered for it by a man playing power games, enabled by another man too scared to ask questions. The betrayal felt fresh all over again. But underneath it was something else. The knowledge that Taejin had been manipulated. That he'd been acting on false information. That in his twisted way, he really had thought he was protecting us. It didn't excuse what he'd done. But it complicated my hatred in ways I didn't want to examine. I didn't come out for breakfast the next morning. Sent Seojun out with Agent Kim, claiming I had a headache. Taejin didn't knock on my door. Just left a tray of food outside that I didn't touch. I spent the day staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything I'd learned. About how the villain of my story had been Sangwoo all along. About how Taejin was, still guilty, but less intentionally malicious than I'd thought. About how none of it brought Daehoon back. Around 3 p.m., there was a soft knock. Haneul. Taejin's voice was hesitant. There's something else. Something I think you should see. I didn't want to see anything. Didn't want to talk to him. But curiosity won. I opened the door. Taejin stood there holding a folder. What is it? After I arrested Sangwoo, I had my team sweep his apartment. They found he kept records. Of everything. Including. He held out the folder. Daehoon's actual investigation notes. The real ones, not the manipulated versions Sangwoo showed me. My hands shook as I took it. Inside were dozens of pages in my brother's handwriting. Notes about criminal activities, financial trails, corruption. And a separate section labeled Family Protection Protocol. I read with tears blurring my vision. Daehoon had been meticulous. Had documented every step he'd taken to keep my name out of his investigation. Had used pseudonyms, kept locations vague, deliberately omitted any information that could connect Taejin's operations to his family. There was a note dated 2 days before he died. Need to approach Taejin carefully. Can't expose him without destroying Haneul's life. Maybe there's a deal to be made, cooperation for immunity? Need to protect my brother HEW above all else. They come first. Boys. I read it 3 times. Daehoon had been trying to protect me. Even knowing what Taejin was, he'd been trying to find a way to keep our family intact. He loved you so much, Taejin said quietly. Every page of his notes mentions you. Worries about you. Plans to keep you safe. He was a better person than I ever was. I closed the folder carefully. Can I keep this? It's yours. Everything in there belongs to you. I looked at Taejin, really looked at him, and saw someone broken in a different way than I'd thought. Not a monster who'd casually ordered a death, but a man who'd been manipulated into making the worst decision of his life and couldn't forgive himself for it. It didn't make what he'd done okay, but it made him human. flawed and guilty and drowning in remorse, but human. I need time, I said, to process all of this. I understand. And I need you to understand something. I met his eyes. This doesn't change what happened. Daehoon is still dead. My brother is still gone. Nothing, not Sangwoo's manipulation, not Taejin's regret, nothing will ever bring him back. I know. But I swallowed hard. But I think I needed to know the whole truth. Needed to understand that he died trying to protect me, not expose me. That matters. I don't know what to do with it yet, but it matters. Taejin nodded, not trusting himself to speak. I went back into the guest room with my brother's notes and spent the rest of the day reading them, learning about his investigation, his thought process, his careful attempts to be both a journalist and a brother. And I cried. For him. For us. For everything we'd all lost. That evening, Seojun burst into the guest room with excitement. Papa! Papa, guess what? Appa says we're going to get Uncle Daehoon's bunny from storage. And he says maybe we can visit the place where Uncle is resting. Can we? Please? I looked up to find Taejin standing in the doorway, uncertain. I thought, if you're ready, we could go together. To visit him. His voice was soft. I've never been to his grave. Never felt like I had the right. But if you'd allow it, I'd like to pay my respects. To tell him I'm sorry. Part of me wanted to say no. To keep that space sacred, separate from Taejin. But I looked at Seojun's hopeful face. At Taejin's tentative expression. At the folder of notes showing how much Daehoon had cared about keeping our family together. Okay, I heard myself say. We can go this weekend. Seojun cheered, hugging both of us. And I wondered if maybe, just maybe, we were starting to heal in some small, complicated way. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But acknowledgement. The beginning of understanding. It wasn't enough. But it was something. 2 days later, everything changed again. I was making lunch when Agent Kim burst into the penthouse, her face urgent. Sir, we have a situation. Sangwoo escaped during transfer. Taejin was on his feet instantly. What? How? Inside help. Someone on the prosecution's security team. We just got word, he's in the wind. My blood ran cold. Escaped. He was being moved to a secure facility. Never made it there. Agent Kim's expression was grim. And we have intelligence suggesting his first target is. She didn't need to finish. Taejin was already moving, barking orders into his phone. Full lockdown. No one in or out. Triple the security detail. I want eyes on every entrance. The lights went out. All of them. The entire building plunged into darkness. Emergency lighting kicked in after a moment, casting everything in an eerie red glow. Seojun. I ran toward his room, heart pounding. Taejin was right behind me. We burst through the door to find empty. The room was empty. No. No. I spun around, checking the closet, the bathroom, everywhere. Seojun was gone. On his bed was a phone. Not mine, not Taejin's. It started ringing. Taejin answered, putting it on speaker. Hello, Kong Taejin. Sangwoo's voice was smooth, pleased. Miss me? Where is my son? Taejin's voice was deadly calm. Safe. For now. You know, you really should upgrade your security. So easy to get inside jobs these days. If you hurt him, you'll what? Kill me? You already tried to lock me up. Didn't work out so well, did it? Sang laughed. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me everything. Your territory, your operations, your contacts. Everything you've built. And in exchange, you get your precious family back. Let me talk to him, I said, my voice shaking. Let me hear my son's voice. Papa. Seojun's small, scared voice came through. Papa, I'm scared. There's a man and he says. That's enough. Sangwoo was back. You have 6 hours to decide. Transfer everything or the boy disappears. And trust me, you'll never find him. The call ended. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My baby was out there with a murderer, scared and alone, and I couldn't. We'll get him back. Taejin's hands were on my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. I swear to you we will get him back. How? He could be anywhere. I have people everywhere. Every contact, every resource, everything I have is going toward finding our son. His eyes were blazing with a fierce determination. Sang-woo made a mistake. He took the one thing that matters more to me than anything else in this world. And I will tear this city apart to get him back. Agent Kim was already coordinating, dozens of people mobilizing. But 6 hours wasn't much time. And Sang-woo had proven he was willing to kill. I sank onto Seojun's bed, clutching his favorite stuffed animal, and prayed to a god I wasn't sure I believed in anymore. Please let my baby be okay. Please let us find him in time. Please don't let me lose another person I love. Taejin was on multiple phones, calling in every favor, activating every resource. I'd never seen him like this, focused and fierce and absolutely ruthless. I don't care what it costs, he was saying. Find him. Now. An hour passed. Then 2 reports came in. Possible sightings. Dead ends. More searching. 3 hours. I was shaking so badly I couldn't stand. Taejin sat next to me, and for once I didn't pull away when he took my hand. We'll find him, he said again. I promise you. You can't promise that. Watch me. For hours. A call came in. One of Taejin's contacts had spotted a car matching the description heading toward the warehouse district. We move. The ride there was the longest of my life. Taejin was coordinating his team, planning the approach. I just stared out the window, terrified of what we'd find. When we arrived, the warehouse was surrounded. Taejin's security team moved in with military precision. Stay in the car, Taejin ordered. No. That's my son. Which is exactly why you need to stay safe. If something happens to you, Seojun loses both his parents. His eyes were fierce. Trust me. Please. I wanted to argue. But he was right. I watched through the car window as his team breached the warehouse. Gunshots rang out. I stopped breathing. 5 minutes that felt like 5 years. Then Taejin emerged, carrying Seojun. I was out of the car before it fully stopped, running toward them. Papa! Seojun was crying, reaching for me. I grabbed him, held him so tight he squeaked, sobbing into his hair. You're okay, you're safe now. The bad man was scary, Seojun hiccuped. But Appa came. Appa saved me. I looked up at Taejin over Seojun's head. His shirt was torn, there was blood on his sleeve, not his, I hoped, and he looked like he'd aged 10 years. But his eyes were blazing with relief and fierce protectiveness. Sang-woo? I asked. In custody. Real custody this time. Federal facility, maximum security. His voice was hard. He'll never threaten our family again. Our family? He'd said it so naturally, like it was still true. And in that moment, with Seojun safe in my arms and Taejin standing guard over us both, maybe it was. The first week after Seojun's kidnapping, I didn't let him out of my sight. Not to go to the bathroom. Not to sleep. Not for a single second. I know it wasn't healthy. The child psychologist Taejin hired, Dr. Yoon, a kind woman with gentle eyes, told me as much. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Seojun's empty room. Heard his scared voice on that phone. Felt the terror of those hours when I didn't know if I'd ever see him again. So I held him. Constantly. Taejin understood. He didn't push, didn't try to separate us. Just quietly had a larger bed moved into the guest suite so we could all sleep together. Me, Seojun, and him on the far side, maintaining careful distance but present. Protective. It was Seojun who finally broke the cycle. Papa, he said one morning at breakfast, his small hand on my cheek. I'm okay. The bad man is gone. Appa promised. I know, baby, but you're squeezing too tight. It hurts sometimes. His eyes were so serious. I love you, Papa. But you're scared and it's making me scared too. Out of the mouths of children. Dr. Yoon had said the same thing in different words, but hearing it from my 5-year-old son hit differently. I was transferring my trauma onto him. Making him responsible for my healing. That wasn't fair. You're right, I said, forcing myself to loosen my grip. I'm sorry. I love you so much. I know. But Appa has lots of security people now. See? He pointed at Agent Kim, who was stationed near the kitchen. And the building has new locks. And cameras everywhere. We're super safe. He said it with such confidence. Such trust. I wished I could feel the same. 2 weeks after the kidnapping, Taejin knocked on the guest suite door late at night. I'd just gotten Seojun to sleep after another nightmare. He had them occasionally, waking up crying for his Appa, calming only when Taejin came in and held him. The psychologist said it was normal. That Taejin had been the one to rescue him, so his brain associated Appa with safety now. I tried not to think about what that meant. Can we talk? Taejin asked quietly. I stepped into the hallway, pulling the door mostly closed so we wouldn't wake Seojun. What is it? He looked exhausted. More than exhausted, haunted. Like he hadn't slept since the kidnapping. I've been doing a full investigation into my organization. Every person, every operation, every connection. He ran his hand through his hair. I need to know who else Sangwoo corrupted. Who else might be a threat? Okay. And I found something. Something about Daehoon's death that I need to tell you. He met my eyes. There was a fourth person involved. Someone who helped Sangwoo fabricate the evidence against your brother. My stomach dropped. Who? My former head of security. The man I trusted to protect our family. His voice was bitter. He's the one who created the fake communications, the false intelligence reports. Sangwoo paid him off, and he betrayed me, betrayed all of us. Where is he now? Dead. Killed in a car accident 3 months after Daehoon died. Taejin's laugh was hollow. Sangwoo probably had him eliminated to tie up loose ends. But before he died, he kept records. Insurance, I guess. Documentation of exactly how they manufactured the threat against Daehoon. He pulled out a tablet showing me files. Communication logs. Photo metadata proving the evidence had been doctored. Financial transactions showing payments to fabricate reports. I wanted you to see this. To know that I'm not making excuses or trying to minimize what I did. But the conspiracy was extensive. Sangwoo didn't just lie to me. He built an entire false reality designed to make me believe your brother was an imminent threat to my family. I stared at the evidence, feeling sick. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve the complete truth. Every piece of it. He took the tablet back. And because I'm dismantling everything. The entire organization. Every illegal operation, every corrupt connection. I'm cooperating with prosecutors, providing evidence, testifying against everyone involved. I looked at him sharply. I'm done, Haneul. Done being the person who let your brother die. Done being the man who put you and Seojun in danger. His eyes were fierce. I'm tearing it all down. And yes, I'll probably face consequences. Prison maybe. But I don't care. I can't be that person anymore. Why now? Why not 3 years ago? Because 3 years ago I was still making excuses. Still justifying my choices. Still believing I could compartmentalize, be a criminal in business and a good man at home. He stepped closer. But Seojun's kidnapping showed me the truth. There is no compartmentalizing. Every choice I made in that world put you both at risk. And I can't live with that anymore. I didn't know what to say. This was what I'd wanted, wasn't it? For him to leave that life, to be someone different? But the timing felt wrong. Convenient. Like he was doing it to win me back rather than because it was right. Don't do this for me, I said coldly. I'm not. I'm doing it for Seojun. So he doesn't grow up with a father in the criminal underworld. So he can be proud of me instead of ashamed. Taejin's voice cracked. And I'm doing it for Daehoon. Because he died trying to expose corruption, and the least I can do is help finish what he started. That got me. The mention of my brother, the acknowledgement that this was bigger than just us. How long will it take? Months. Maybe longer. I have to be careful. There are still people out there who'd kill to keep their secrets safe. He looked at me steadily. But I'm asking, can you and Seojun stay here until it's done? Until I know for certain that everyone who might target you has been dealt with. Every instinct screamed at me to say no. To take Seojun and run far away from this complicated, painful situation. But I looked through the crack in the door at my son, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks because he knew his appa was nearby. Until it's safe, I agreed reluctantly. But Taejin, this doesn't mean we're not. I know. His smile was sad. You're not my family anymore. You're just staying here temporarily for protection. I understand. But the way he said it made it clear he didn't believe it any more than I did. Living together became easier and harder simultaneously. Easier because we fell into routines. Taejin made breakfast while I got Seojun ready for the day. We took turns reading bedtime stories. Ate dinner together. Looked like a normal family from the outside. Harder because it reminded me of everything we'd lost. Every casual touch, every shared smile, every moment of co-parenting harmony was a knife to the chest. This could have been our life if Taejin hadn't made those choices. If Daehoon was still alive. One evening, I found Taejin in his office, surrounded by papers. Legal documents, testimony transcripts, evidence files. He looked overwhelmed. You okay? I asked from the doorway. He startled. Yeah. It's a lot. Unwinding 7 years of criminal enterprise. I should have left. Should have maintained distance. Instead, I walked in and sat down across from him. Tell me about it. He looked surprised. You want to know? I want to understand what you're doing. What you're risking. So he told me. About the shell companies he was dissolving. The illegal shipments he was stopping. The corrupt officials he was exposing. The protection money he was returning to the businesses he'd extorted. I can't undo the harm I've caused, he said quietly. But I can stop causing more. And I can help put away the people who are worse than I was. Were you really that bad? I found myself asking. Or were you just in too deep? Does it matter? He met my eyes. I still made the choices. Still profited from suffering. Still let an innocent man die because I was too paranoid to ask questions. But you were manipulated. Stop. His voice was sharp. Please, Haneul, don't give me excuses. I don't deserve them. Yes, Sang-woo manipulated me. But I created the environment where that manipulation was possible. I built an organization on violence and fear. I was the monster, even if someone else helped me aim my teeth. The self-loathing in his voice was palpable. What will you do? I asked. After this is all over? I don't know. Maybe prison. Maybe witness protection. Maybe just try to be a better person. He smiled sadly. But I'll still be Seojun's father. That's the one thing I'll fight for. The right to be in his life, even if I have to do it from a distance. Something in my chest tightened. He loves you, I said quietly. Even with everything that's happened, he loves you. I know. I don't deserve it, but I'm grateful for it anyway. Taejin looked at me. Does he know? About Daehoon? About what I did? No. He's too young to understand. Will you tell him? When he's older. I hadn't thought that far ahead. The idea of explaining to my son that his father had enabled his uncle's death. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe. Probably. He deserves the truth. He does. Taejin's voice was heavy. And when that day comes, I'll answer whatever questions he has. I won't hide from it. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Taejin said, Can I ask you something? What? Do you hate me less now? Now that you know about the manipulation? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know if I hate you at all anymore, I finally said. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm grieving. But hate requires a kind of certainty I don't have anymore. What changed? I saw you with Seojun. During the kidnapping after. The way you looked when you thought you might lose him. I swallowed hard. You're not a monster. You're just a man who made terrible choices and is drowning in the consequences. Is that better or worse? I don't know. I stood to leave. But it's more complicated than I thought. The breakthrough came 6 weeks after the kidnapping. Taejin got a call from his federal handler, a no-nonsense prosecutor named Ms. Park who'd been coordinating his cooperation. They've arrested the last major player, Taejin told me after hanging up. his face a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Everyone connected to Sangwa's network, everyone who might have posed a threat, they're all in custody or under surveillance. So we're safe. As safe as we can be. There's always risk, but... He smiled, and it was the first genuine smile I'd seen in weeks. You're safe. Seojun's safe. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt terrified. Because safe meant I had no reason to stay. No excuse to keep living in this strange limbo where we were a family but not a family, together but not together. Taejin saw it on my face. You're thinking about leaving. We always said this was temporary. Until it was safe. I know. He looked down. I just hoped, maybe, you'd want to stay anyway. Why would I want that? Because Seojun is happy here. Because you've been sleeping through the night for the first time in 3 years. Because maybe, he stopped himself. Never mind. That's not fair. Say it. Because maybe you don't hate me as much as you think you do. And maybe I've changed enough that we could try. Not go back to what we were, but build something new. My heart was pounding. Taejin, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I know I don't deserve that. But I'm asking if you'd consider letting me earn your trust back. Let me prove that I can be the partner you deserve. The father Seojun needs. My brother is still dead. I know. Nothing you do will change that. I know that too. Then what are you asking for? A chance. His eyes were desperate. Just a chance to show you I'm not the man who let Daehoon die. That I've learned. That I'm trying every day to be someone worthy of you and our son. I wanted to say no. Wanted to protect myself from more heartbreak. But I looked at him, really looked, and saw someone fundamentally different from the man I'd divorced. Broken and rebuilding. Honest about his flaws. Working every day to atone. I need time, I said. I need to think. Take all the time you need. He stepped back. I'll wait. However long it takes. I'll wait. That night, I couldn't sleep. Stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything. About Daehoon, about Taejin, about what kind of life I wanted for Seojun. About what kind of life I wanted for myself. Around 2 a.m., I got up. Walked to Taejin's office. Found him awake, working through documents. Can't sleep? He asked. I need to know something. Anything. If I give you this chance, and it doesn't work out, if I try and realize I can't get past what happened, will you accept it? Will you let me go? He was quiet for a long moment. Yes, he finally said. I'll hate it. It'll destroy me. But yes. I won't trap you here. Won't guilt you into staying. Your happiness matters more than my second chance. I believed him. Okay, I said. We can try. His head snapped up. Really? Really? But Taejin, I'm not promising anything. This is just trying. Seeing if we can build something from the ruins. That's all I'm asking. His smile was tremulous, hopeful. That's everything. Trying didn't mean easy. It meant therapy, individual and couples. Dr. Yoon for me, a stern older therapist named Dr. Choi for Taejin, and Dr. Min for us together. Hours of talking, crying, arguing in controlled environments where professionals could step in when things got too heated. It meant setting boundaries. Taejin slept in his own room. We didn't touch beyond necessary co-parenting contact. No hand-holding, no casual intimacy. We were rebuilding from scratch, and that meant starting with friendship, trust, basic respect. It meant Seojun asking constant questions. Are you and Appa married again? Why do you sleep in different rooms? If you love each other, why do you look so sad? Children saw too much. 3 months into trying, Taejin came home looking shattered. What happened? I asked, setting down the design plans I'd been reviewing. Final testimony. I spent 8 hours on the stand, detailing every crime I committed, every person I hurt, every law I broke. He collapsed onto the couch. The prosecutor asked about Daehoon. Made me recount the entire incident in front of a courtroom full of people. My chest tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be. I deserved every second of it. He covered his face with his hands. But hearing myself say it out loud over and over, I authorized the elimination of the threat. That's what I kept calling it. Like your brother was a problem to be solved instead of a person. I sat beside him, careful to maintain distance. You've changed. You know that now. Knowing doesn't erase what I did. His voice was muffled. The defense attorney tried to paint me as manipulated, as a victim of Sang-woo's schemes. But I stopped him. Told the court I made the final decision. That regardless of manipulation, I'm responsible. What did the judge say? That my cooperation has been valuable but doesn't absolve me of guilt. Sentencing is in 2 weeks. He finally looked at me. I might go to prison, Haneul. 5 to 10 years for the crimes I've admitted to. My heart stopped. What about Seojun? You'll take care of him. Like you always have. His smile was sad. And I'll see him during visitation. Write him letters. Be the best father I can be from behind bars. He'll be devastated. I know. But it's better than him having a father who's a criminal. At least this way, I'm taking responsibility. Showing him that actions have consequences. I didn't know what to say. Part of me thought prison was exactly what Taejin deserved. Part of me, a growing part, didn't want Seojun to lose his father again. Part of me didn't want to lose Taejin either. That realization terrified me. The day before sentencing, Taejin asked if we could visit Daehoon's grave. All 3 of us, he said. I want to pay my respects properly. Before whatever happens tomorrow. I'd been avoiding it for months. Too scared, too raw. But something in his face made me agree. We drove in silence, Seojun chattering in the back seat about school, oblivious to the tension. The cemetery was peaceful. Green grass, old trees, quiet except for birdsong. We walked to Daehoon's grave, a simple headstone with his name, dates, and the word, Truth Seeker, engraved below. Seojun placed the flowers we'd brought. Hi, Uncle Daehoon. I brought you pretty ones today. Papa says you liked blue, so I picked blue flowers. My throat closed up. Taejin knelt beside our son. Seung, can you give Papa and me a moment alone with your uncle? Okay. He ran off to look at a butterfly, Agent Kim trailing discreetly behind. Once he was out of earshot, Taejin spoke to the headstone. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if there's anything after death, or if you're just gone. But I need to say this anyway. His voice shook. I'm sorry. I'm so deeply, profoundly sorry for what I did. You were trying to protect your sister, trying to do the right thing, and I killed you for it because I was a coward who believed lies instead of seeking truth. Tears were streaming down his face now. You were 24. You had your whole life ahead of you. You could have been an amazing journalist, exposed real corruption, made the world better. Instead, you're here because of me. Because I was too broken to see what was real. He pulled something from his pocket, a USB drive. This has everything. Every piece of evidence you were gathering, plus everything I've added. All the corruption you were investigating, all the crimes I committed, all of it documented and ready for publication. He placed it on the grave. I'm giving it to your former editor. They're going to finish your exposé. Publish it under your name. You'll get the credit you deserved. The truth you died for will come out. I hadn't known he was doing this. Your death won't be meaningless, Taejin continued. You'll expose the corruption you were fighting against. You'll be remembered as the hero you were. And I'll be remembered as exactly what I am, the man who killed you. He bowed deeply, forehead touching the grass. I know you probably hate me. I hate me too. But I promise you, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the family you died protecting. I'll be the father Seojun deserves. The partner Haneul deserves. Even if it takes forever. Even if I never fully succeed. I'll try. He stayed there, forehead pressed to the ground, shoulders shaking with sobs. I knelt beside him, placing my hand on his back. He startled at the contact. We'd barely touched in months. He would want you to forgive yourself, I said quietly. How do you know? Because Daehoon believed in redemption. In people changing. He wouldn't want you destroying yourself with guilt forever. I looked at my brother's grave. He'd want you to be better. To do better. And you are. Taejin lifted his head, his face wet with tears. Do you really believe that? I'm starting to. We sat there together, and for the first time since everything fell apart, I felt a strange sense of peace. Not forgiveness, not yet. But acknowledgement. The beginning of something that might, eventually, become healing. Seojun ran back, oblivious to our tears. Can we get ice cream after? Uncle Dae-hoon would want us to get ice cream, right, Papa? I laughed despite myself. Yeah, baby. He would. The courthouse was packed for sentencing. I sat in the gallery with Seojun, who was confused about why we were in such a serious place. Taejin stood before the judge in a simple suit, looking smaller somehow. Vulnerable. The judge read through the charges, the testimony, the cooperation agreement. My hands were clenched so tight my nails drew blood. Mr. Kong, your cooperation has been unprecedented. You've provided evidence that has led to the arrest of 47 individuals involved in organized crime. You've returned stolen money, dissolved illegal operations, and shown genuine remorse for your actions. Taejin stood silent, accepting it. However, you also authorized violence, profited from suffering. And while you were manipulated regarding the death of Yoon Dae-hoon, you still bear responsibility for creating an environment where such manipulation was possible. I held my breath. Therefore, I'm sentencing you to 3 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 18 months based on continued cooperation and good behavior. 3 years. 18 months minimum. Seojun would be 8 when his father got out. I felt like I'd been punched. Taejin bowed to the judge. I accept the sentence. Thank you for the mercy you've shown. As they led him away, he caught my eye. Mouthed something that looked like, I'm sorry. Seojun tugged my sleeve. Where are they taking Appa? He has to go away for a while, baby. But what did he do? I looked at my 5-year-old son and made a decision. He deserved honesty, age-appropriate but honest. Appa made some very bad choices before you were born. He hurt people even though he didn't mean to. And now he has to accept consequences for those choices. It's called being responsible. Will he come back? Yes. In a few years. And we can visit him, write him letters, talk on the phone. He's not gone forever. Just away. Seojun thought about this. Then, is this because of Uncle Dae-hoon? My heart stopped. What makes you say that? I heard you and Appa talking sometimes. About mistakes and Uncle Dae-hoon and being sorry. His eyes were too knowing. Did Appa hurt Uncle Dae-hoon? I couldn't lie. Not about this. Yes. Not directly, but yes. Appa made a choice that led to Uncle Dae-hoon dying. And he's been trying to make up for it ever since. Is that why you were so sad? Why we left? Yes. Seojun processed this with the strange acceptance children sometimes have. But Appa's sorry now, right? He's trying to be better. He is. Then we should forgive him. That's what Uncle Dae-hoon would want. You said he believed in people changing. Out of the mouths of children. Visiting hours at the prison were Sundays, 2 to 4 p.m. The first visit was awful. Seojun cried when he saw Taejin in prison clothes, separated by glass. Didn't understand why he couldn't hug his Appa. It's okay. Taejin said through the phone, his voice gentle. This is just temporary. And look, we can still talk, still see each other. I'm right here. But I miss you. I miss you too, buddy. So much. But I need to be here for a while. To learn and grow and become an even better Appa for you. Promise you'll come home? I promise. 18 months, maybe less. That's not so long. It felt endless. Over the following months, we established a routine. Sunday visits. Letters twice a week. Seojun's drawings and simple words. Taejin's careful responses full of love and encouragement. Phone calls every Wednesday evening. And slowly, something shifted in me. Watching Taejin interact with Seojun from prison, seeing him stay present and loving despite the circumstances, reading his letters where he detailed his therapy progress and his commitment to change, it cracked something open in my chest. This was real. His transformation wasn't manipulation or performance. He was genuinely becoming someone different. 6 months into his sentence, I visited alone. Left Seojun with my parents. Taejin looked surprised when I sat down. Where's Seojun? I wanted to talk to you. Just us. Concern crossed his face. Is everything okay? I've been thinking about what you said. About building something new from the ruins. I took a breath. And I think I want to try. Really try. Not just co-parent, but see if we can be partners again. His eyes widened. Haneul, I can't promise it'll work. I can't promise I'll ever fully forgive what happened. But you've changed. I can see it. And I don't want to punish you forever for mistakes you're genuinely trying to atone for. What changed your mind? Seojun. He asked me if this is what Daehoon would want, me staying angry forever. And I realized the answer is no. Daehoon believed in redemption. In second chances. In people being more than their worst moments. Tears filled my eyes. And I think he'd want me to be happy. To let myself heal. To give you the chance to prove you've changed. Taejin was crying too, his hand pressed against the glass. I won't waste this chance. I swear to you. I know you won't. I pressed my hand against his, separated by glass but connected anyway. We'll take it slow. One day at a time. But when you get out, we'll try. Really try. I love you. The words burst out of him. I never stopped. Even when I knew I didn't deserve to. I know. And maybe I'd always known. I love you too. Even when I hated you. Even when I thought I'd never forgive you. Some part of me never stopped. Taejin was released after 16 months for good behavior and exceptional cooperation. We picked him up together, me and 7-year-old Seojun, who'd grown so much during Appa's absence. Seojun ran into his arms, and Taejin lifted him up, spinning him around, both of them crying and laughing. You're taller, Taejin said through tears. When did you get so tall? I grew. And I learned to read chapter books. And I'm the best at math in my class. I have so much to tell you. They chattered all the way to the car, catching up on 16 months of life. At home, our new apartment, smaller than the penthouse but ours, Taejin stopped at the threshold. Is this? Can I come in? It's your home too, I said. If you want it to be. He stepped inside, taking in the space we'd built. Photos of all of us, including Daehoon, on the walls. Seojun's artwork on the fridge. A life we'd created while he was gone. There's a room for you, Seojun announced, dragging him down the hall. Right next to mine. So we can be close. Taejin looked at me over our son's head, questioning. We're taking it slow, I said. But, you're part of this family. You always were. We just needed time to remember how to be one. That night, after Seojun was asleep, Taejin and I sat on the couch, close but not touching. Thank you, he said quietly, for giving me this chance. For letting me come home. Thank you for becoming someone worthy of coming home to. I'm not there yet. I'll probably never fully be there. None of us are perfect. I took his hand, the first intentional touch in almost 2 years. But we're trying. Together. And maybe that's enough. He squeezed my hand. It's everything. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, a family learned how to heal. Not through forgetting. Not through erasing the past. But through facing it, accepting it, and choosing to build something new anyway.